Okay, I think I got everything good. This is episode 3 of season 1, Dexter Resurrection. Oh, I like the simple opening. Wow, I never noticed that the flash in that frame. I don't know how loud this song is. Probably can't hear me. If I didn't know better, I would think this was CeeLo Green. Rollo Good Love. All right, as an Uber driver, make sure you have a charger in the back seat. Usually, cars nowadays, the console, or I think it's the console, the little middle department will have a outlet on the back. You can plug in cords there. They have you like universal cords and things like that, or universal outlets that have like different cords at the end. You can use that for your customers, so they can charge their phone, make them happy. Water. Always have water in your car. Always have, water is just a necessity. It's, so always have water available for anybody. Even if you aren't an Uber driver, I would recommend that. And yeah, him showing Dexter his phone. Some customers will do that for you. It's like, well, I'm driving. And it feels like they're trying to set you up for failure. At the same time, it's like, do they know what they're doing? It's like you just gotta be careful with that. When you're in unfamiliar territory. Yeah, Dexter's looking at the lights right now. I love it. I really like this episode 3. It was pretty good. The episodes are getting better. So those stars, they hurt. I've gotten 4s, and they've actually lowered my score, and I've actually gotten paid less. So like, for people, don't do 4. Don't just 5 stars. You know, because sometimes those 3s and those 4s really hurt. We could lose our jobs, and yeah. So that recorder that you just saw was the year 2022. Even though this is 2025 that we're in, the show takes place 3 years ago because Dexter's technically been in a 10-week coma. Not 3 years. So I love how innocent he is. 4.2. When you are a man of peace and happiness, you find joy in everything. So this Patrick Bateman, I always knew that this. I don't know who the actor is, but I always knew Dexter had some kind of hookup. I knew it. I knew he had some people. Hmm. Glad to have you back, Doctor. So I believe it was in season 1. There was a paper, there was a sheet, or there was a file or something. Oh no, I think it was in season 2 when Dexter was being interrogated, and they had a list of people. Dexter's alias was on there, and a lot of fans noticed that. Oh, so Dexter is ordering his Endorphin, his M99 with the alias, which was the guy from American Psycho. So that was like an Easter egg that some fans found, and I believe season 2. And I like how they incorporated that into this season. As I was saying, yeah, so the year is 2022, but also 222 is a powerful message or theme energetically of what this season is about, the show is about, which is about creation of duality, which is the duality of light and darkness, and the process of, just how those things affect each other. You really see how Harrison is like disassociating with everything. It's almost as if like he's like splitting personalities at this point. We really don't know. We really don't know much about Harrison other than he was broken in New Blood, And in this season, he's kind of like out there, but it's like this dude really doesn't have much of a grounding, you know, as a character. Must be hard for the actor, honestly. But it might be easier also because he can lean into, you know, the absence of, you know, what disconnects him from his humanity as a person, and it probably just comes out on screen, and you know, so it might be easier. The way that he's acting this scene, Jack is Jack Alcott. He like he's really like playing this as if he's like two different people. I don't know if that's on purpose or maybe it's just me. You know what? Let me move this mic closer just in case. I don't know if the audio from the video is louder than me talking, so. Her trying to shake him up. I love that how she rubs her laptop like, you know, sensually, like the way she rubs her fingers up against her laptop, it really kind of creates a type of intimate stimulation, and that intimate stimulation kind of helps with allowing her to help the energy flow, but it also gives a sense of it changes the mental atmosphere for the person she's talking to. So you know, the type of therapy and stimulation that you know helps the energy flow. So she asks, "What was your one night stand?" And Harrison says, "Julie." That was the name of the actress who played his mother in the first 5 seasons. A guest in season 5, but she was still there. Would be nice to see her. I I love that. We are done. I really there's a cop outside the door just in case Harrison ran. You know, or at least I assume. Being lying to a cop. Whenever families have their squabbles and they argue and they fight, you know, it's like let that be an expression. Do what you gotta do, let it out, but be family. Unlike my family, we get into a little fight, little squabble, you know, sorry, a little fight, then, you know, it's like a whole drama for like weeks, sometimes months. Sometimes we don't let it go. I remember watching this scene with my buddies, and I actually held my friend's hands during the prayer scene. They're all laughing. Yeah, some people don't move out of their house; they just keep it. Yeah, see, this is open honesty, family. You know that honesty is very important because it really honesty really lets energy flow the way it needs to. The ethers flow. You know, I think this was a perfect. Yeah, it's good to have love like that. It's good to have um, supportive support like that. Morgan Dexter. Yeah, that scene when the daughter, I think Joy was like, I wish you were that supportive about my business. And, our blessing was like, did you know? And he hugged her. It's important to have that kind of relationship with people to just let the love flow. Because things aren't going to be perfect ever. People are going to fight. People are going to disagree. People are going to get emotional when they have to divide. And, just don't let them make them feel bad about it. And here's Dexter eating again. Dexter better be careful with his heart and everything, how he eats. I wonder if that's going to be a thing in the future because of his eating. But I understand his sin is. I understand his eating is like, his whole thing, but I wonder. There was something else I was going to say earlier and I completely overlooked it, forgot. Maybe it was something about the Harrison scene, don't remember, but I apologize. I don't know, maybe something about just family support or something. But yeah, this background check on Dexter, you really see the cracks of honesty. Honesty is important, and you start seeing that when she said, here's a background check. She's honest about it. She's not secretive about it. It's like this is a house of honesty, and when there's a house of honesty, you have to honor that, and you have to be that. I remember we used to use like I don't know if it was magnets or something. We would use tape and something else to get fingerprints off of door handles. It was something me and my old stepsister used to do. Yeah, right, Dexter. Yeah, that's always an age itself is a privilege. Yeah, it is. Yeah, age is a privilege. You know, I always thought that was an odd thing, awkward thing, being older than your parent was to have lived longer than what your parents have lived. And to just be like, oh, my dad was 17 years old when he passed away, and here I am, 23. It's like, huh. It's also weird. It's also weird um, being older than how old your parents were when they had you. I've always thought about it, and I'm just like, man, my 10 years ago is the age I was when my dad had a kid. And here I am, 10 years older than him. I don't have a kid, and it's kind of weird because sometimes I'll ask him for advice, as a father, and he will be like, he'll give me simple responses. I'm just like, is that the right response? Or, you were never my age and you didn't have a kid. So, like, I'm this age now, but I don't have a kid. So I don't have the same motivations you had when you were this age. So it's like, how do you deal with life to this degree? And it's like, my dad's just like, well, before I was your age, last year your age and 10 years prior, I had kids to take care of. So I had responsibilities that took up a whole decade and a half of my life. And I was like, I don't have kids though. So like, how do I deal with, he had something to distract him all these years. So it's a little difficult talking to parents sometimes about, certain delays in life, and sometimes they'll try to give me simple answers. I'm just like, yo, I didn't grow up like that. So there's a disconnect. Dexter's like tired. He's tired. Don't fall asleep, Dexter. Okay. Well, 20 seconds up. I just got a phone call and it threw off my entire recording, but I can't go back and fix it. Oh well. Someone called that I don't even know what I was saying, but I got a phone call from just one of my buddies. Someone just got arrested. So she called. So I got a call from jail, from prison. Anyway, not that anyone needed to know about that, but threw my whole energy off, threw my whole recording off. I love that shot of Miami. It actually looks like Miami, not like Malibu or Coast or wherever they filmed the first couple seasons. I think the first season they didn't have hurricane insurance or something, and so it was like too expensive to film in Miami. So they just like, let's go to California. Gosh, Batista, that intensity of Batista's face. Give me the name of the driver. Care package. Hmm. Lifestyles. You'd be surprised when people ask. The deeps. he's such a he's such a comedian. The way he delivered his lines. When I like how Dexter says old wounds. I like how Dexter's actually open to doing something like acupuncture. Um, like being on the table in the previous episode, he was saying, I don't like being on tables, so vulnerable. And it seems like now he's like willing to, be on the table now. Some character development, silent character development. Beautiful block right here. I don't know where this block is. I mean, for all I know, the background could be CGI. It's hard to even tell, but I would love to be on that block. I would love to be in this show. I would love to have moved out there, to New York and have lived out there for a while. It was actually my dream, my goal. Our ladies in the bathtub. So this cop says that the rape kit came out negative. I don't know too much about the kit, but from what I understand, there's a way to extract semen out of the vaginal walls and get samples out so it can be tested on certain on people to see if it matches them. I've known some people who've actually fallen into that trap, but I won't talk about that. I won't give people ideas, but well, what I mean is I knew someone who was with a woman, and she was like, "Oh, it's okay, I'm on the pill." And then they did it, and then she accused them of sexual assault, and then he was like, "No, it was consensual." And then they did a skit on her, and then they got his fluids out of her, and it was like, well, there's the evidence. There was no way for him to defend himself. You know, knowing with some malicious people, they're probably going to listen to that and be like, oh, an idea. I'm going to trap him. Anyway. Anyway, this whole recording's off now. But I love this detective when she's in her zone. I know my buddy told me something. He told me it's called being in the shed or being in the warehouse or something like that. I love the comedy, the way that the lines are developed comedically. Um, I love how she also uses music to get into the flow of what's going on, giving her a sense of clairvoyance or clairsentience. I believe it was clairsentience, being able to feel, or even, yeah, clairsentience, being able to kind of like feel out history, the history that energies hold in certain spaces. Being a cop, you can really listen, hack into those, train your brain to listen to it. And then, once you're in the flow, you can like really tap into the outside energies of or the energies that are like in a room or telling a story, and we can follow that story. It's a way to train your brain to do it. But I love when she gets her headphones on and she numbs her senses, and by numbing the senses, she's able to focus on specific senses that she needs to really keep her focus. Her focus would, prioritize her focus. Sorry. Um, yeah. Also, by having these borderline out of body experiences, it allows you allows you to really be enough out of your physical body to where you can operate on like a different type of like hertz or whatever. And when you're in those hertz, it's easier to understand and feel energies that are around you. And a lot of writers do that. A lot of writers go out of body and get into that flow state, things like that. Yeah, there's also theta. Um, those that the bird poop, I believe those they have like cages, I believe, and the cages keep the bird poop from. I could be wrong, but I believe it's this. I should have done more research on that. So now we get here to this scene, and she's giving Dexter acupuncture, and there's the crystal, and we're starting to understand how Dexter is being affected by this new age. He grew up in a different time, 80s, 90s, early 2000s, and now, 2010s, he was basically, in self-isolation, and now in 2020, there's a whole new world out there to be explored and to be discovered. So now we have Dexter exploring it. This is a Reiki session in a way. Joy is talking with Dexter right now because she's actually reading his energy. She's actually channeling his own energy. This is a mirroring, and it's when you connect with somebody and you actually speak what they're feeling, and your body finds a connection to what you're feeling and what they're feeling, and what it does is it makes it seem as though the conversation just happens, but really it's your energy meeting with their energy at a crossroad, and then you translating what it is you're going through together. And as you're discussing and you're talking, you're actually giving their energy the therapy, the audio therapy or whatever, physical therapy. And what you guys most people don't know is that the discussion is actually between two energy forces, one broken energy, one lost energy, and one that is fixed and healing. And so she was actually channeling what Dexter's issues were and verbally talking with them about, what his chakra blocks were. And as she's putting the needles in his chest, that was her opening up his energy centers, and then his energy centers connecting to hers, and then hers helping him get through it. She pokes it into his forehead. She pokes the needle into his sixth chakra. And as she does that, she's like, "How do you feel?" He's like, "Better." And opening up that sixth chakra, Dexter's mind ends up really getting clarity on what it means to connect with Harrison in this next scene. And in this scene, it's not so. It's like I don't want to get too complicated or too strictly. This is the answer. I'm trying to kind of keep a little. What I mean is. Saying one wrong word can redefine what I'm trying to say. So it's more on the lines of Dexter has clarity on what he needs to do right now. Intuitively, Dexter is like, "Oh, Harrison doesn't really need me right now," and he's walking away. Now the whole deal is, "Oh, Dexter, come on, talk to your son." Now on a normal level, that makes sense. Go talk to him. At the same time, with Dexter's third eye now being open, we know with the acupuncture and the energies being clear, he's able to clearly feel and understand what he needs to do for his son right now. And at the moment, Dexter needs to go and find more pieces of himself before he can fully reconnect properly with Harrison. He has to go and discover more about himself before he can discover more before he can discover more of his light, connect with his internal light. He's got to, go down that other path. And sometimes us being addicted to walking a certain path or, making a decision and saying, "Oh, I have to do this, I need to do this," sometimes it's more powerful to be a person. Sometimes it's more powerful to do something or be a person or not be a person that you feel you have to be. It's better to just, feel that flow of, not having to forcefully be, obligated to, I have to be this way, I have to do this for this person, I have to be this way. And sometimes it's good to just step back and be like, I remember Thor, sorry, this is a spoiler, but I remember Thor said that line in Avengers Endgame at some point. What he said perfectly, something like, "It's time for me to stop being who I was meant to be and be who I want." It was something on the lines of that. But if you go and look at that quote that Thor said in Endgame, when he was talking to Valkyrie, then, that purposely captures. But, yeah, so Dexter has to go and really fully embody more, go through this new path before he can fully connect properly with Harrison. I'm actually thinking about, I love this guy. Your alibi slipped your mind. It's like, bro, I'm not worried about all this stuff right now. I love how detached. I said that already, but I love how detached Harrison is in this scene, in this season so far. So yeah, this episode really is about, the flow of life and things like that, and just really letting those energies go. I don't know. I think I don't know if it's too much to say that this woman really feels like LaGuerta. She's like the LaGuerta we never got. A side of LaGuerta that we never fully got to see. But I know what that's like to write a whole character and there's so many layers to the character, and you've written them for years, sometimes even a decade, and you realize that what the character was supposed to convey, or what the certain personality traits about the character, they've never been written. You've never written them out. You never just explored them, and sometimes it's like, let me create a whole other character that represents a part of the main character that I just never had time to explore, and it's like, so now we have her explaining in details about what Harrison did. And that's hard. That is really, really hard when you have such guilt eating away at you. When you when you have such guilt eating away at you, and you're just like, bro, I gotta like let this burden go. And then you have these cops be like, yo, we understand, and we're offering you, a sense of empathy and a sense of release from this. And he's like, and Harrison is just like, yo, this is like a choice right here, of how dedicated is he, and what does it mean to sacrifice? What is he internally sacrificing? To hold on to this. Um, you know, it must really be hard, but like for these cops to empathize and sympathize. I've been through in a situation like this back in 2016, and I made the choice by listening when these people were like, "Oh, it's okay, just tell us what happened." And I told them, and I broke down. I was in tears, told them the truth, and by the end of it, it was like, okay. And then there were consequences, and it completely changed the entire trajectory of my life in such a way that to this day, a decade later, I've never been able to recover. And if I would have just lied, if I would have just held on in that moment, everything would have been okay. I would have still have learned my lesson. My relationship wouldn't have fallen apart the way it did. My finances, my life would not have fallen apart the way it did. Um, so I understand how hard that must be for Harrison to be in that kind of a situation. And even to this day, because I gave in to that, I'm suffering. And it has nothing to do with even if you in that situation and you understand. Sometimes when someone offers you a relief for something that's heavy on you, sometimes letting them take that weight off of you is just them is just putting you in a worse situation sometimes, or sometimes they want to put you somewhere and you're just too heavy, and so they help you let those weights go so that they can just lift you and throw you in a hole that they want you to go in, because they feel like that's where you need to be, that's where you belong. And they will offer you, hey, let me take that burden off you. And it's sad, but there are situations where that happens. You see the girl that is close with Harrison, and you start seeing now how lying does have its consequences with the people around you, and sometimes people around you who care about you and love you will end up following dark paths to try and protect you, just as you lie and go down dark paths to try and protect yourself. Sometimes people who love you will follow you down that path, and it sucks. It really does suck, when you get into these impossible situations. But that's what Dexter's always been about, is being in these impossible psychological, emotional situations, and how do you deal with them, and how do you not deal with them? What's the consequence of not dealing with them? Such as LaGuardia, not dealing with LaGuardia's death, and really processing what does that mean. And it just haunts Batista as well as haunting Dexter internally, because Dexter's not in a place to fully acknowledge that. So right here we get in this scene with Batista and Masuka and Quinn. Batista, he's still haunted by so much. Um, it's really great seeing these three characters finally come back. Quinn right back into character. I just looks so natural, and Masuka, just yeah. But sometimes just the consequence of not dealing with things, and and how far Batista's come, and now Batista's like, I gotta go do this. He's not telling anyone. It's like, yeah, Dexter's always been about making those rough decisions and facing consequences of doing and not doing. Look at that kiss in his bald head. That was probably unscripted. I remember I paused and I ran around my living room when I saw Quinn and run up. I really want to know what kind of car that is. I know that Kia changed their logo. I believe it was around 2020, 2022 that they changed their logo. So I like that they used the old logo on this car that Dexter has, um, for details, paying attention for details. I still don't know what kind of Kia that is. I gotta look that up. Except for Jerry, right? Now here we have the Dark Passenger. Um, so my recording for the second episode of this season is a bit wonky, and I don't know if I'm going to re-record it or what I'm going to do about that. But I guess now I can talk a little bit about this Dark Passenger character. Maybe, but this character, dang Dexter. Um, yeah, this really catches people's attention. I love how risky the show is. The show is never supposed to last more than a season. It's just too risky. And they kept the risk going with the show, and it's been good. I love stuff like people are just get so sensitive, so it's like, so, he said, I'm scared. So now this is Dexter fighting his dark passenger, the dark passenger. They do look alike at a certain point of view. There you go, Dexter. Just like with George King, you know, he would bite his own hand off to a gazelle would bite his hand off to escape being eaten by a lion or whatever. Yeah, this guy, he was really gonna do it. There you go, Dexter. Always give a sense of humor to lighten up how the situation affects you, because as you're going through the situation, depending on what you do next, really does decipher how it affects you, how it develops inside of you. So sometimes going through such harsh moments or situations, having a sense of humor about it can sometimes be very healing, instead of the process getting too deep into you and breaking you and hurting you more than it needs to. Getting into character right here. Now the thing about this scene is, I think this is technically Dexter's first kill since the original Dexter in season 8. Now, forgive me if I'm wrong, but what I mean by that is, I don't remember the last person Dexter actually killed, but when in this room in New Blood, the first one was an accident. The second person was the drug dealer, but Dexter set him up. And then there was the dude who hunted him, but he kind of stabbed him in the building. And then Kurt was more of a father-son project. But like having someone in the actual kill room, I think this is the first time we see it since season 8. The clown was a flashback. Something about his victims that I noticed that I could be wrong about with the Dark Passenger is I love this father-son dynamic. I love the father-son dynamic of, my father, went through something. And I love how they change the strings in this. You really aren't sure what Dexter feels in the situation. It's strange, but so now that Dexter has basically killed, symbolically, I guess, has killed the Dark Passenger, which gets very complicated once you start getting into, but now that Dexter's actually has killed the Dark Passenger, he's killing some of the, some of the rules of the Dark Passenger now. So now as the Dark Passenger was limited now in such a degree, now that Dexter's killed it, he's now opened himself up to a new path of what this internalized energy is inside of him. And that manifests as finding the invitation. Now that Dexter's actually killed the Dark Passenger, in a sense, now it's like, oh, what is this thing inside now? What is this thing what's it gonna open up to Dexter? How is this idea or this entity, this thing, this not this entity, but this thing inside of him, this energy? How is it going to how is this thing going to present itself now that the whole label and persona of the Dark Passenger has been killed? So now that opens up new possibilities. Once you see Dexter point his finger on the sixth chakra and open up his fingers, it's like, yeah, opening up to new possibilities, opening up to something new. So, with Dexter going through acupuncture, uh, his energy is able to flow better now. So now this is a reference to Miguel. So now, Dexter, how do you connect with your son now, but not connect with your son through the darkness, through the Dark Passenger? How is Dexter going to connect, light to light with his son instead of, darkness to darkness? His son's not like him, and Dexter can help him, but Dexter really needs to tame, how he directs this darkness inside to really get there. And yeah, now his lady partner is like, "Grr, you're threatening my empire." And now right here you see Harrison's personality splitting in the mirror. You see the division. The two of them got to reconnect with truth, through good, not just through, bad things. Yeah, that was a reference to Miguel when he was saying, "Oh, the path is a lonely one." I love um, the furnace, because Dexter doing this in the furnace was a reference to Matt Caldwell, the first kill after season 8. Maybe not untraditional, but first, but also the fire was when Speltz was killed in season 7, and Speltzer represented the idea of trophies, and Dexter um, moving on from trophies. So I love how bone empathy. So I love how the symbolism of getting rid of the body or his victims with fire, really represents something much bigger of what Dexter's moving on from when he uses fire instead of water. There's some beautiful pictures of New York City. I can't wait for episode 4. I haven't seen any of the previews, so I'm gonna go in blind next week. Let's see how it comes out. Yeah, thank you for listening to my commentary. I'm just waiting for the credits to roll. But thank you for listening to this.